and welcome to Media Musings. Anyone who is, happening to be lurking in the chat or watching in the future. And so today we are covering the Danish film Druk, or more widely known in international audiences as Another Round. Now, and of course, we have a very special guest that I, would not do this episode without having them on. So, hello, Hopswatch.
How are you all? Cheers.
Cheers. So, since we are discussing a film about life through the lens of Danish drinking culture, you might as well go around the clock with what we happen to be drinking.
Where are you starting?
Hops first.
Yeah, I am having homemade elderflower syrup, topped with sparkling water and a healthy dose of vermouth. So no beer today.
Yep.
Still alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
With ice, of course.
They're like today, I don't blame you. I think the whole of Europe's caught the sun today, hasn't it?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Seems to have, yes.
And Scummer?
I am drinking something called Running with Spectres. It is a Baltic porter, but brewed by a company called Lost and Grounded. So, which I think is based in Bristol, which is where I picked up a number of beers from earlier this week. So, very syrupy, very thick beer.
Yep.
Nice.
And Noodle?
And I am drinking Weston's Cloudy Cider still, for anyone interested. I'm not drinking it straight out of the bottle because I'm good, but I'm not that good. I've got it in a glass.
And, of course, me being the, boring teetotal, I'm drinking coffee and Arizona tea.
Yeah, you have a medical exemption. You get a pass.
Yeah. Though, if you do want to see me drink on stream, get me to 200 subscribers before Godless Sewing gets to 100.
Do it.
If that does not get ring to 200, I do not know what will.
Yeah.
This has.
Ring is just funny with the drinking them, so
I'm almost. So I'm half tempted to go and make about 30 soccer accounts now just for that to happen. But it is kind of cheat. It is kind of cheating, though.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, let's see. How should we start? Should we start with the fact that there's already talks about an American remake?
Of
Why are
course
you
there
going
is.
in with those negative waves so early in the morning?
Well, I mean that way
Sorry,
we
that
can
was
get.
last week.
I mean that way we can get it. We can get it out of the way.
Hold on, I need a drink if this is what we're going to discuss.
Well, honestly, I don't think I think that's a terrible idea. Because
American remakes always are.
Well, aside from that, this film in particular, Americans are way too Puritan when it comes to alcohol.
And you start to drink at a much later age.
Yeah.
Yeah, Americans don't touch. I went to America when I was 20. Now, raised in the UK, I've been drinking at least since I was 16. At home and at 18 in pubs. And Ring's sister genuinely didn't want to buy alcohol because I was under 21.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've been drinking for longer than you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd. It's really.
Well, it will help you.
There's no sense of teaching the kids any moderation at a young age. It's just no drink, no drink, no drink. Okay, go nuts and land yourself in A&E with liver failure.
Yeah.
That seems to be. It makes no sense to me. I don't get it at all.
Now, I think, I mean, if you want to teach young people to drink responsibly, let them try it out. I mean, of course, under controlled circumstances, but that will eventually mean that they'll get a more healthy relation to alcohol later on.
Yeah, because there's no novelty to it. Like, all my friends who were told, you can't drink until you're 18, went out on their 18th birthdays, got blind drunk. A couple of them got arrested, a couple of them got this, a couple of them got that. Me, I turned 18 and I was like, nah, half a bottle of vodka and I'm happy.
Right.
A couple of pints of lager, half a bottle of vodka by the end of the night, and I was happy because I'd grown up in that mixed Polish Caribbean culture of, they were putting Appleton on my dummy as a baby. And, from the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, I remember my parents saying at New Year's Eve parties at home, come on, Noodle, it's midnight, you can have one. You can have a small glass of champagne or a small, or, a can of lager or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was always in that controlled environment for special occasions, like you can have a glass of wine with Christmas dinner, that kind of thing.
I was in a very similar situation. That doesn't mean that there weren't times when I went a bit mad and
absolutely.
got completely wasted. I mean, I got absolutely paralytically drunk when I was 16.
I did,
I mean, I got to hold my hands up here because I'm the one person that hasn't actually gotten around to seeing this film yet. But so I've got to hold my hands up here about this. So I'm going to be asking questions, I suppose, more than anything today. But I don't know how. I mean, I'm assuming this film does deal with like drinking culture in a bit, and then certainly.
Yeah.
Now I don't know a lot about Danish drinking culture. I know British drinking culture tends to be binge drinking. Now I don't know if it is the same in Denmark or not.
You go on, Noodle.
I just want to jump in and ask you, Hops, kind of in answer to that question. Can you give us a translation of what the word druk actually means in Danish? Because I think that's relevant to Scummer's question.
Yeah, are you? How familiar are you with German?
Not much.
It's parallel to the German word saufen.
Right.
If you're if you take the words are basically the same in English, to be honest. To the word to drink is a verb, but if you make that into a noun in Danish, you get the word druk. It is the act of drinking, basically.
Right.
But it has the implication that you would drink heavily.
So would a fair translation of it be binge drinking?
Yeah, or at least heavy drinking. Not necessarily binge, I would say, but I guess binge rather than just having a sip. Definitely, it doesn't have to be binge though.
So it's
but heavy drinking,
a good session, session.
Yeah.
Anyway,
as we say in Britain, a sesh.
Yeah, but like in answer to your question about how it's about drinking culture, the film opens with a lake race.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain, Hops, what a lake race is.
I have never participated in one. I have, however, been participating in a number of drinking games. This is not a thing that exists all over Denmark, I'd say. It could exist, I guess, some places where they have lakes. Actually, I think I know the lake that they are running around. I'm pretty sure it's the lake which is very close to the high school where I went. And I mean, but we did not have that tradition.
Yeah, I will say the director of this film's daughter took part in a lake race. There's a story he tells in interviews where his daughter said she was going to do it, and there was an American visiting, like an American film person, and she was shocked and appalled that this child is going to go out and drink so hard she vomits and run around a lake. And she looked at him as if to say, well, are you going to do anything to stop this? And he's just like, yeah, go have fun. And then she's like, but what about the teachers? And the daughter said, the teachers will be there. The teachers are there. They're the ones keeping score. Which is just...
Yeah.
I think even from a British point of view, getting pissed with my teachers is not... The only time I ever did that, my last day at secondary school, we were all 16, we'd finished school, and we all knew, the teachers basically said to us, this is the pub we drink in, we'd like to have a drink with you. Come and meet us in the beer garden. With the implication that we'd go in and we'd buy a soft drink, knowing full well when we get there, one or two of the Irish teachers are going to come out with a round of lagers. That's how it went down. So, it was... just because it's not legal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. What is the drinking age in Denmark, by the way? The legal
the official legal age is 18. I think, but I mean there are kind of ways around it. If you're in a private environment or a private circle, you can start earlier. So this is how they would have drinking in high school, in high schools, for example.
Yeah, no, because here in the UK, you can allow your child to drink from 4 years old at home.
4 years old.
That's the law. You're allowed to. It's not recommended, but you are allowed to.
I think it's 15 in Denmark, but I have to admit I don't know the legislation so well, and it has a tendency to fluctuate in these years.
Yeah, I think teenagers are allowed into a pub with their parents from 14. Mm-hmm. They're allowed to drink in a pub with their parents' permission from 16, private functions only. Mm-hmm. And at 18, it's a free-for-all.
Okay.
As and when you please.
Right.
Within the laws of the country of not drinking on the streets, etc.
But just to get back to what Ring said in the beginning, to make an American version of this one is difficult because it's founded so much on Danish drinking culture, and you wouldn't be able to find or at least find that easily equivalent to that in the United States. You would need to move the beginning of the film, for example, to not high school, to college.
Yeah.
It would be much more of a question of college students and college teachers, and the power relations between those two age groups is a completely different one at that age. Not only in that culture, but also in that age.
No, absolutely. I used to drink with my tutors as an undergraduate. It was normal. We'd have a lecture that finished at 6 o'clock, and the tutors would say, "Come on, who's coming to the pub for a glass of wine or for a drink?"
Right.
Or we'd have late night lectures, like 8 o'clock lectures. Public lectures that we'd go to, and afterwards there would be wine and like snacks laid on, and the tutors would say to the students, "Come on, we're going for a drink, are you coming?"
Yeah.
Right.
And that was normal. We were just treated like, it was kind of a way of networking with your tutors, and for your tutors to get to know you. Like the first time I ever properly got drunk as an undergraduate, it was because my professor gave me ouzo on top of champagne.
Ooh.
Which actually was quite fun. There were
sorry guys, I'm gonna drop out for 5 minutes and reboot my router because I think I'm just having problems at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
so I was a big drinker, but I'd never been properly drunk. And he took us to this tiny little office down the road. Him, his PhD student, and like 4 undergraduates he'd invited along at the end of the semester. Like it was the last one. We killed about 12 bottles of champagne between us over the course of about 2 hours. And then he said, "Right, who's feeling brave? I've got some ouzo here." And me, I just went, "I'll drink anything, me. I'll try anything once." never had it before. I'll give it a shot. I was like, cool, try it, and it was nice. I'll have another one, thank you. And then I sat there and I just went, I can't feel my legs. That was it. Like, I was totally sober, but I was like, I can't feel my legs. And then I was like, I need to get some fresh air. I went outside and it hit me like a brick wall. You know how it does. It hits you like a brick wall the minute the cold hits you.
Right, right.
And
Oh,
I was all right. They saw me back to my university room and everything else. But this is why that culture, even in Britain, that wouldn't work. Because it's a totally different culture. If it could work anywhere, I'd say it would work as a British film. But it's not going to work as an American film.
Yeah.
They'd have to change it a lot, but
yeah.
I mean,
like the aftermath of the lake race is like sets up one of the one of the main conflicts of the movie.
Yeah, which is alcohol being banned in the. I do love how even the teachers looked at it and went, "Yeah, that's not enforceable."
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's just
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, you can try it, but good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so like if it were to be remade as an American film, it would like have to take place in college. But I don't even with the changes that would need to be made for it to, for the plot to work, it wouldn't. I don't think
it wouldn't go down well.
Yeah.
It's very dependent on Danish drinking culture, isn't it?
Yeah.
And very, so much so that Annika, she's Swedish.
Yeah.
If you hadn't noticed, because I don't know, did you watch it with subtitles? Did you?
Yeah, I did watch. I watched it with subtitles, and I was going to ask that because she doesn't seem to buy into the culture the way everyone else does.
No, she doesn't, and I mean it's actually it's very much it's a cultural difference. It's a huge cultural difference actually between Denmark and Sweden and the drinking cultures that we have, and we always poke fun at each other, or rather we poke fun at the Swedes for being restrictive, and they wave their fingers at us for being careless. Very much all the time. So we have a very liberal drinking culture in Denmark, and alcohol is, compared to Sweden, relatively cheap. Compared to Germany, it's hellishly expensive, but that's a different story. It's on par with Britain, by the way, what alcohol costs here.
I couldn't even tell you the price of a pint in Britain at the moment. I haven't been to a pub in so long.
Okay, but I know from trips to Britain and Scotland. So, but the thing is, in Sweden, getting alcohol is actually difficult. There are only so many stores where you can buy it, and it's a state-owned system that sells alcohol. And if you want to get it in a kiosk, you can only get it up to I think it's 3.5%.
So that's why Annika comes across as an uptight prohibitionist.
Yeah, but I mean, I actually don't think she comes up as that, but she is definitely the antithesis to the Danish drinking culture. She definitely is, and she works very well like that because she's Swedish. But did you notice that she was Swedish, Ring?
No.
No, but it explains a lot about her character.
Watching as a Yank.
She's the token judgmental.
She is like the I'm not gonna say she's the teetotaler because she does have a glass of wine, but she does come across as the Hatchet Molly, almost.
Okay.
I will say something though, because we're talking about how if this film could be made in America, it would have to be done in college. The problem is the Danish kids in the film, and I think Europeans in general, I'm not going to include Britain in that, so post-Brexit Europeans in general, have a much more responsible attitude towards alcohol with the kids. Because I think those kids in that film, even though you've got one who's saying, I'll drink 15 drinks a night, They're still
Every night.
clean, they're well kept, they're at school on time, they're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed
Yeah.
and ready to learn. And, you know, it's all managed and it's all... That's probably moderate for him because that's what he's grown up with. To everyone else, it's shocking, but to him,
Yeah.
it's just normal.
Right.
Whereas I don't think even American university students, college students, have that level of responsible drinking.
Yeah.
They don't. When I think of an American college student, I don't think that's someone who can go out, drink 15 pints and go to work the next day or go to class the next day. I don't have the impression that they can handle their drink.
Yeah.
Whereas I know exactly how that ends if I go out with British college students, university students, and have 15 pints. They're all falling over, I'm putting them in a taxi home, and then I'm going home to bed. That's how that worked when I was an undergrad.
Right.
Yeah.
But this lad, it was just 15 pints and more if there's a game on Wednesday.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, yeah, he drank like 15 for 4 days, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
And
then,
sometimes Wednesday if there was a Champions League game on.
Yeah, so 50 to 55 drinks a week.
Yeah. But then again, this is. You will hear young people say that, but if you, however, they're not drinking that much really.
They're not. What he calls a drink is a little can of lager like this. That's like a third of a pint.
yeah,
But yeah, I do also, talking about responsible drinking and teenagers. Can I point out that the pranks these teenagers pull are really well-meaning and wholesome?
yeah,
Like, can you imagine? I can just imagine British teenagers on a train.
Oh,
The security guard would be lucky if all he got was handcuffed to the rail and a little old woman was handed a beer. And actually would be wrecked if it was British teenagers.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I just... Yeah, it was really wholesome to see that. And I'm just like,
and that wholesome little prank is what, is what, kicks off the, we're going to ban alcohol at the school.
Exactly, and that was just a wholesome little... To me, that's wholesome. Because no one got beat up, no one ended up in hospital, no one got arrested. So to me, that's a wholesome night out. It's a bit of fun.
And I like those little details. All of it was wholesome. When Martin accidentally drinks too much, he doesn't drive home, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that I liked as well. Like, I can't drink. I thought I'd try, but I can't. And
I can't drive.
You know that even if his friend had not pulled up next to him, he would have called a taxi home because he was already thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's even though it's a film entirely about drinking and alcohol, and they do push the limits, they do it in a really safe way.
Yeah.
And that's
or at least thought through.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, there is, like, you can argue there is a bit at the very bottom of the arc where they go too far.
Yeah, okay. You should have gone and bought the fresh cod before you had your third Sazerac, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Rather than trying to fish it out of the...
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the comedy of the film as well, isn't it? And it had to show that when you drink too much, it has consequences. And that's what that was there for.
Right, yeah. But I mean, they don't follow the experiment. They don't follow it rigorously. I know, and they don't really have a control group neither, so it's not a proper experiment.
The experiment is just an excuse. I think we've all grasped that. Tom's quite clearly already an alcoholic before the start, and he's looking for drinking buddies.
We will all make excuses for it being in the name of science, But...
Right.
For science.
So for those of you, who haven't watched this movie, the plot is four high school teachers hit a midlife crisis and decide to run an experiment on the hypothesis that people are born with a 0.05% blood alcohol content that's too low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is a theory that is out there. And it's something we all kind of know logically. Like, we know once we're all on a second drink on this stream, we're going to be louder, we're going to be more chatty. I always am, but you will see the difference. And once you've had 1 or 2 glasses of wine, everyone knows conversation flows better, everyone's having a laugh. And it's just nice. And so it's something we kind of automatically know, but we maybe give it a bit too much credit where it's not due.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, what would be your personal experiences? Or I can tell mine if.
You're talking to the person who's gotten blitzed from 3 chocolate liqueurs.
Okay.
Yes, they were Polish chocolate liqueurs.
Were you more creative as a result?
No, not really. No, but I was more daring. I mean, the first time I really experienced this, I was already in my 30s. I think it was in my late 20s, maybe early 30s, and I went down to the harbour in Copenhagen. I lived there at that time, and a few years earlier, they had actually opened a site in the harbour of Copenhagen where you can go swimming. And that sounds insane, but you can actually do that. The water's pretty clean, and it's close to the Baltic Sea, so the saline, the salinity of the water is absolutely perfect. You can dive with your eyes wide open, and it doesn't sting the least bit. It's exactly that level of salinity. Just one detail to explain how nice it actually is to have a dip in the harbour of Copenhagen. So they had put up this tower where you could jump from 1, 3, or 5 meters, and I already jumped from each height. But I had never tried yet to dive head first from 5 meters. I was down there with one of my friends. He didn't want to go bathing, but he did want to have a cup of beers with me. So I had to, and then I felt brave and daring, and I thought I can do this. I can actually do this, and I went and I did it, and I haven't done it differently ever since. I prefer jumping head first.
Does the idiom Dutch courage translate into Danish?
Dutch courage, is that Dutch courage?
This is what we call when you have a drink if you give a soldier a drink before he goes on the battlefield, if you want a drink before you're about to ask someone out, it gives you something just to calm your nerves and give you that forward.
I am not familiar with that as an idiom, but I call it the healthy buzz, also in Danish.
Dutch courage is kind of, let's have a drink and then we'll be able to do that thing we kind of want to do but we're a bit nervous of.
Yeah.
Dutch courage.
The saying it comes from the Anglo-Dutch Wars, so it's probably not and it's the idea is that they used to give a little bit of something, usually gin or something to English soldiers. There's a calming effect before battle. I think this is kind of where it comes from.
Wasn't it, Scummer?
It was actually gin, I think, at the time. Yeah, this was for the soldiers.
I think it might have been rum in the First World War, but don't quote me.
Rum would have been in the Navy, certainly, because the rum ration wasn't. I can tell you about this because my mum was in the Navy at the time. That wasn't abolished until 1970.
I don't think Nerdy knows how accurate this comment is in regards to the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But yeah, because it's that thing of he has a drink to get him up and dancing. It's, that one person in the group who doesn't want to do karaoke until they've got a few drinks in them. That's Dutch courage.
I I used to do a lot of karaoke back in the day, but I don't think I've ever done karaoke sober.
But
Ring does a great Johnny Cash.
It does very.
Yeah.
Let's just say generally, if I ever got up and did karaoke, at least 2 Zambucas were downed before I'd go up.
Yeah, let me finish this bottle and think about getting the next one before we start talking about karaoke. Yeah, that's...
But like, because the culmination of Martin's arc, does happen at the end of the film where he finally does, he finally lets loose.
Hey, some people take up pottery.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment, that really life affirming. But talking about Martin and just Martin in general.
Yeah.
Vinterberg is absolutely in love with Mads Mikkelsen, and I don't blame him. He does this. He does a lot of work with Mikkelsen. They did The Hunt together. They did The Pusher together. I think Pusher 2 as well.
That wasn't Vinterberg.
Vinterberg, was it?
That was Nicholas Winding Refn.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake. But
No problem.
But this is what Vinterberg does, because there's a thing, if you notice, a really specific thing I want to draw to. If you've seen The Hunt, now trigger warning if you haven't seen that film, it's about a guy who gets accused of being a paedophile. And that guy, Vinterberg deliberately designed him. These 2 characters were both written for Mads Mikkelsen. Like, Vinterberg never had anyone else in mind for these 2 characters. And he's very good at making Mads Mikkelsen look vulnerable and soft. Like, softening up the hair, putting him in glasses, giving him, like, a warm jumper and making him look a bit like a dad, basically. And he did that with The Hunt because the original character in The Hunt was supposed to be this big, hard case character. And then they softened it down for the story. And you see him do the same with Mikkelsen in this, where when he's in vulnerable moments, when he's struggling, the hair's a little bit fly away, he's wearing glasses, or he's playing with his glasses, or he's got injuries to the face. Now, Mikkelsen and his injuries to the face is a very American Hollywood thing as well. Like, that dude has never been in anything where he didn't have an injured eye, except and he does injured and vulnerable really well. He's like that little kitten at the corner of the road that you can't help bring home.
I think it's obviously good that they could sort of perhaps show people that Mads Mikkelsen's got a lot more range than just Hannibal Lecter and Bond villains.
Yeah. He's actually really good. There's a really good period drama that he was in about. I've got the DVD here over there, and I can't remember the name of it. What's it called? Damn it, never mind. There's an American film where he's a cowboy, and there's another one where he's it's a period drama. It's Danish court. It's the Danish courts about the Danish king who his advisor basically was running the country from behind the scenes. And Mikkelsen plays the advisor who was a doctor and sleeping with the king's wife.
Ah, right. Yeah. Livlænsbys. No. Yeah, I don't. I know the historical character, but I'm not familiar with the movie. The character is called Struensee.
That's the one. I'm glad you said that because I can't pronounce it.
So he's a historical character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that shit actually happened in Danish history.
I mean, it definitely got me into looking into Danish court culture because that's an interesting story. And
well, he wasn't a drummer; he was a doctor. Did you say drummer?
No, I said doctor. He was a doctor.
Okay. So I'm just hard of hearing.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Sorry.
But this is the thing. I think. How much of Danish GDP is Mads Mikkelsen right now?
I don't know.
Export GDP.
Yeah.
Difficult to say.
But
he's somewhere. I think he's somewhere between Carlsberg and Danish bacon. He's somewhere
He's
between those
also
two.
the face. He's also the face of the Carlsberg adverts.
So
He is, by the way.
Yeah. So technically, how much of Carlsberg's revenue is? Yeah.
He's
But-
everywhere.
Probably the best actor in the world.
Probably, yeah.
Probably.
Now-
Contrary to the beer, that's a different story.
Yeah.
We could go. That would go off on a whole tangent. So let's probably not
No.
go there.
Yeah, let's better not. Yeah, right.
But so about the culminating scene, not really discussing it yet, but like there's a lot of build up for that, for that scene. Because like his friends keep mentioning how he used to do jazz ballet.
Mm-hmm. He does mention at one point having a back injury.
Yeah.
That took him out of it. And you see as well, even in the middle of it, at the bottom of the arc, when they get drunk, they're all dancing. Oh, they're trying to dance.
Well, except for him.
Except for him, because he won't, because he's got this block.
Though there is another scene that kind of foreshadows it a little bit. Like the first time he goes to work with like a 1% BAC.
Yeah, and he's moving around the staff room.
Yeah, he's supposed it's written. It looks like it's written that he's he's stumbling, but the way it's acted and shot, there's a lot more fluidity and grace to the
Yeah, and then he
right up until he bashes his face in the doorway.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the whole point of that is that's his prime percentage, isn't it?
Yeah.
1% seems to be his sweet spot.
Yeah.
That's when his kids are cheering, when he's smooth, when he's happy, when he's booking holidays, and all the rest of it. So that's his sweet spot. So that kind of makes sense. I want to kind of take you back to the start of the film.
Okay.
And I want to talk about the fact that these four guys are going out for one of their 40th birthday. 40th?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'd think it was a 90th. They go to a posh restaurant to eat caviar and sit around listening to a waiter go on about the vodka or something.
Yeah.
It's so stilted and repressed. And you kind of see that throughout the conversations that they have. Obviously, Martin has the breakdown. They discuss this theory. And then they go out. And you kind of understand that he had no intention of going on after that because he took the car. But then he went along with his friends. And that's an important part of Martin's character. Of his friends never pressure him into doing stuff, but they always seem to pull him along with them.
Yeah.
Right.
He's very... I think for me, Martin's primary motivation is he's lonely.
Yeah.
And you see that right from the start. He is lonely and he'll just do anything to be around his friends because he's got no one else. Which is quite sad, but something I wanted to point out. And you do get the impression, I will say, I don't know about anyone else, Tommy's already an alky. Like the guy who suggested it, he's already an alcoholic. He's just looking for drinking buddies at this point.
Yeah.
Haven't noticed, but he always plays roles like that.
Okay, so he's typecast.
Thomas Bo Larsen, he's about as famous here in Denmark as Mikkelsen is, and he always plays roles like that.
This is valid.
If you've seen The Feast, also by Winterberg.
I think so, but I've seen so many Vinterberg films recently.
Okay.
Is that the one with the family in the hotel with the...
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, that one was... I needed a drink to get through that one, to understand that one, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. But he plays very much the same role there, doesn't he?
Yeah. That film's part of a style Vinterberg spearheaded. Is it called Dogme?
Yes, dog. Yeah, well, you could call it dogma. It was the Danish word for dogma. So they had some very strict, very specific rules about what they could do and not do when they were making these films. They were restricting themselves as much as they could, technically, so to say. No special effects. What are they called?
I'm just looking at the rules of it here. Shooting must be done on location. Props and sets must not be brought in. Sound must never be produced apart from the image or vice versa. Camera must be handheld. Any movement or mobility attainable in the hand is permitted. Film must be in colour. Special lighting not acceptable. Optical work and filters forbidden. Film must not contain superficial action. Temporal and geographical alienation are forbidden. Genre move is not acceptable. Film format must be Academy 35mm. Director must not be credited. Which is an interesting choice for a director to spearhead an entire movement that's not going to give him any credit for it.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it was that the acting was became much more important, actually.
Yeah. And I know that film in particular that we're talking about is a really dark satire on sort of inheritance and money and rich people.
Oh yeah, very much.
It's to me, it's up there comedy-wise with things like Yes Minister. But
but that was still
sense of humour to get it.
Yeah, but very dark also. I mean.
Yeah.
And well, so it seems like somewhat dark mixture of drama and comedy seems to be Vinterberg's genre, because this does have its dark parts to it.
And the thing is, though, to me, this film is listed in the UK as drama, comedy.
Yeah.
I think it does it a disservice to call it either.
A drama I can see.
Yeah, I can see calling it a drama.
I can see calling it a drama. Calling it a comedy, I think, does it a disservice. I also think it's... There's a kind of subgenre of films that are about rites of passage. And I think this film fits smack in the middle of that.
Would it be more accurate? Because I didn't see. Would it be more accurate to say then it's more a drama with the occasional bit of with a bit of humour put in? Would that be a better, rather than a comedy drama as such?
Yeah,
it's very much.
It's more something like. I'm trying to think of a British equivalent or something. It's not only Fools and Horses. The joke, it's not designed to be funny constantly, even if it's set in real life. It's more like something like a soap opera with the odd comedic element. And to be fair, some of the things in it, you laugh because you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Martin being found on the roadside. You've got to laugh because you kind of don't know how else to react, because you just sort of...
And
yeah.
And once again, that's at the bottom of Martin's character arc.
Would and again, I haven't seen this. So would a film like, say, Trainspotting be a sort of equivalent? Would you think, or maybe a bit more serious than that?
I don't think this film's as dark as Trainspotting.
Yeah.
But take out the darkest bits, and also take out the surrealistic things. Because I mean, there are elements of that in Trainspotting, and they wouldn't. I mean, they have nothing to do in this film. But apart from that, I can see. But I can see where you're coming from with the rest of it.
I'm more thinking along the lines of the balance it strikes between sort of serious drama and humour. I was just trying to get a gauge, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, not far off. But by the way, I mean, talking about Martin lying on the street, I wasn't laughing at that. I found it very, very painful to see that, especially when his kid came out and saw him.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the cinema and there were people laughing at that, but you could tell it wasn't that they found it funny, they were uncomfortable. They didn't know how to react, they were uncomfortable, and they found it painful. Like, I found it painful to look at it, because my immediate reaction to look at it was, what if that was my dad?
Like
exactly.
I'd have freaked.
Like
I'd have fully freaked out.
And I'd say the somewhat comedic relief moment of that section of the movie comes in the scene before, where the kid's like, "Daddy peed the bed."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. That's
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's kind of. I feel like that joke was put in there for the Americans. That's not humor. That joke just didn't seem to. It just felt kind of very American.
It was. Well, that joke was more like a punchline of him being the hairy dad with the kids that won't stop wetting the bed.
Yeah, like father, like son, basically.
Yeah.
Or rather, paying him back, for being telling him his kids off for peeing in the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I need to talk about their teaching styles.
Yeah.
And how the drink affected their teaching styles, because this is just hilarious. You know, I'm a history graduate, so I had such a moment with these lessons.
Yeah.
First of all, though, the music lessons. The thing is, at the start, all the lessons you see are really badly run. Like, what kind of choir rehearses sitting down?
Yeah,
you're not going to have the right posture.
Nope. You're right.
The football team, he's just harsh with them and funny with them.
My primary school choir used to. It's probably why it sounded so fucking bad.
Here's the exact words I wrote about Martin's first history lesson that we see. He's got the right era, but his narrative is all over the place. When he's teaching about, he doesn't know whether he's teaching Industrial Revolution, Churchill, First World War, Boer War, Second World War, or what.
And he's basically just like reading out of a book.
Yeah, he's quite clearly bored out of his mind.
Yeah.
Which is actually really sad, because the comments passed during the dinner that they go to, that at one point he had a PhD lined up and a grant and everything to be a researcher, we presume, in history, because he's a history teacher.
Yeah.
So this is quite clearly a subject he adored at one point. But he's just kind of languishing there because he didn't take the grant because he had kids and he couldn't justify it. So it's...
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's really sad. I know teachers like that, and it's really sad to see. And it's one of the reasons I decided, you all know I'm a history graduate, I decided I didn't want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many teachers go that way. And all hats off to all teachers. It's a hard job and it wears you down. And it wears down your love of a subject. I
can actually testify that a couple of years ago I actually bumped into actually it's more than a couple of years, it's quite a few years ago now, I actually bumped into one of my former history teachers at school, and the reason he actually said that he left the profession was that he felt he spent more time testing kids than teaching kids now. So
and
all of and one of the inciting incidents of this, of Martin's midlife crisis, is just about all the families of his students, essentially stage an intervention about their grades. and about
Yeah.
how
unsuitable a teacher he is,
and how uninteractive he is in
and the
his
thing
lesson
is as
plans.
well, the point is made by the kid. He says this is history A, so it counts for double. That means that these are the top students in the school and they're seniors.
No, that's not exactly what it means, though. That's the Danish high school system. How to tell this? Each subject has each subject that you can be taught in high school counts a specific number of points, and some of the subjects you can choose that you will have it at a level where they count as B instead of A, or sometimes even C. Now the thing is about history is a subject that you'll have through all 3 years of high school, which makes it automatically an A subject.
Right. Okay.
So it's not that these students are particularly better than other students.
Oh, so it's a core subject.
Yes.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Because see, in England, your only core subjects are English, maths. You only have to take science, not separate sciences. Science. So all 3 sciences over it. And in religious schools, it's religious studies. And I think they made IT a core subject, but don't quote me on that because it would have been after my time.
Right. Okay.
So I would have adored having history as a core subject. I used to get 2 hours a week of history, and it was not enough.
Yeah.
It used to drive me crazy.
So history is a core subject, and English is no matter the direction that you go through high school. Those would be the 2 subjects that are always.
I think it's not a core subject in England because if you made it a core subject, you've got to give it 5 hours a week. And if you give it 5 hours a week for 5 years, eventually you're going to have to admit to these kids that Britain didn't do much great stuff throughout history.
Yeah, could be that.
This is my theory. Because I got into so many blazing rows with my history teachers. I remember being 13, them showing us Schindler's List and kicking off because they were only talking about Jews. And I'm saying, but what about the Poles? What about the Russians? What about the disabled people? What about the LGBT? Yeah. None of it. Again, they did the Battle of Britain, and she tried to claim that all the pilots in the Battle of Britain were British.
Oh, there you are.
And my dad's Polish, and my dad's uncle was a Polish fighter pilot. So you can imagine how I kicked off at that one. And British history classes, especially in high school level, are very... You either get 3 years of the Holocaust, 6 months of the suffragettes, and then World War II, or you get World War II, a little bit on the Holocaust, a little bit more on the Holocaust, Hitler bad, World War II again. And there's very little, like, I have a theory. The average foreigner probably knows more about Cromwell than I do.
Right.
Like, in the U.S., okay, in the western part of the U.S., it's like U.S. history is Revolution, as specifically in the western part, it's Revolution, Lewis and Clark, Civil War, Great Depression, World War II, Cold War, with a Manifest Destiny just spread throughout.
I genuinely remember a teacher in our lesson saying, we're going to skip World War I because I want to do the suffragettes. I genuinely remember a teacher saying those words.
Okay.
We're going to skip an entire World War because she wants to talk about a woman who threw herself in front of a horse. Yeah. So his approach to history, I don't know if that's how Danish history classes work, where you would learn about, because it's quite obvious what he's leading up to there is Yalta and Potsdam with those lessons. He's talking about Stalin, Churchill, and Hitler.
Right.
you know, if you know your history, you know exactly what that's leading to. But that lesson he does with the three leaders and who you would elect is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's very, very timely. Because there's a montage in the middle of this film of great world leaders being pissed or
Yeah.
holding a drink.
Oh yeah.
And I say great world leaders as in world leaders of great countries, because Boris Johnson is one of them, so I can't say they're all great.
Yeah. And, you know, Bill Clinton is another.
Yeah. American senators being pissed at the box.
Boris Yeltsin and Brezhnev.
Yeah. The German Chancellor, Merkel.
Yeah, well, she's just having a pint though.
Yeah, she's just drinking, but she's included in this montage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she is.
I was half expecting when I saw it, I was half expecting a picture of Nigel Farage holding a pint, but I don't think Europeans like him very much.
Nope.
But it's this whole thing of, you know, would Churchill have actually ordered the D-Day landings if he'd been sober? Would any sober person have ordered that?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
And that's what we were talking earlier about Dutch courage and the bravery a few drinks gives you. Now, Churchill was a raving alcoholic. There's no denying it. He's right.
Yeah.
Like, those history lessons are historically accurate.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting the way he does it and has these kids basically elect Hitler.
Yeah, and, you know, Grant, Churchill, and Hemingway, you will have something in common with these three men.
Yeah. And I do love the quote from that of, so will you be like Hemingway and blow your own brains out, or will you win a world war?
Yeah.
Because it really is. That, for me, sums up kind of the entire film.
Yeah.
Right. Right, yeah.
Because they all, at some point or another, sort of analogously blow their own brains out and then either come back from it or don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So Tommy doesn't come back from it.
no, the thing is, did anyone else notice it's not actually said specifically what happened to Tommy? Was it an accident? Was it suicide? Was it...
Yeah, we don't
Anyone
know.
else notice?
Yeah, though
he got I think that's a Catholic... Was that a Catholic church, Hops? Is that what Catholic churches look like in Denmark?
No, that was a regular.
Crucifixes.
No, that was just a regular church. That was a regular Lutheran evangelical church. Milquetoast Danish Christianity.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough, because I saw stained glass windows but didn't see any crucifixes. So I was like, is it Catholic or not?
And from the way it's shot and edited, I'd say it's heavily implied that he commits suicide.
Especially given the conversation with Martin and like before that. Because that's a goodbye. That is a goodbye.
Yeah.
I sat there the first time I watched this and I wanted to scream like, Martin, don't leave him alone. What are you doing? He's going to top himself.
Yeah.
It was very obviously designed that way. Because he's just lost his job. He's already broken up from his wife. He's got nothing. And he's kind of, I think because Tommy's Martin's old friend as well.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of the warning for Martin. Because if you look at Martin in that moment, he's broken up from his wife, which we'll get to her because I have thoughts about her.
Yeah.
He's kind of on the rocks with his job. He's on the rocks with his kids. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
And you kind of see that he's got to wait. He's got to choose, hasn't he? He's got to make his decision. Is he going to follow Tommy's route or is he going to go somewhere different?
Yeah. Is he going to go Hemingway or Churchill?
Yeah, basically, is he going to blow his own brains out or win a world war? And I love that this film does leave that kind of ambiguous.
Yeah.
It pointedly leaves that ambiguous. But yeah, as I mentioned, let's talk about the wife.
Yeah.
Before we do, last one, probably the last one for the stream. Different beer here. This is Arbor's Rocket Man, which is an American IPA, which says full flavoured and seriously drinkable IPA brewed with mosaic and citra hops. So give this a try.
4 hours till none of the Brits can hear anything.
Yeah, 4 hours.
I am streaming during them, by the way.
Hops, is that a snake in your lap, or are you just glad Sam showed up?
No, it is actually a snake. So we've got 2 snakes on screen.
Yeah, technically 3.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, his wife.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because she's, as Hops said, the Swedish kind of stereotype. She irritates me. She irritates me so much. Like,
For some reason, she didn't actually irritate me that much. I did pick up that she was kind of the antithesis to the whole experiment. But I think she was also pictured rather nuanced and sympathetic at times.
she was, but what annoyed me, I liked her right up until the argument in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because
Right up until I couldn't wait for you forever.
yeah, right up until that line. Like, I've literally written here, I've got it. Excuse me, you couldn't wait, you're his fucking wife. And that's literally what I wrote. And what annoys me, it's that scene, and then it's the scene when they meet to talk about the kids. He's the one begging and pleading forgiveness when she's the one who cheated on him. And yes, he had a violent moment, an outburst. He never laid hands on her, and he walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And yet she's the one acting like she's been wrong. And it just...
I feel like there's 2 ways that... I feel like there's 2 ways that scene could have gone. One where it was, like, obvious that he was just trying to fix it, even though he knew he wasn't the only one in the wrong. Or it just comes off as...
I may sound very... risking to sound very stupid now, but I had not picked up on her being unfaithful to him.
Yeah, no, he said to her, have you been having fun with someone else?
Okay.
And she said, I couldn't wait for you. And that's when he flipped and he said,
okay.
No one needs to wait for me.
Yeah, after she gets on him for going on a bender with his friends.
Oh, right.
And the insinuation there is that, at least that's what came across in the subtitles. I don't know if it came across in the thing. But to me, she's sleeping with someone else.
But we don't know who, right?
No.
We don't know who, no. We presume someone she works with, given how many hours she works.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. She's on night shifts.
I didn't know you were serious. I scheduled another shift.
Yeah.
Right.
And the way she cries in the tent as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't properly pick up on that actually. So there you go.
That's what irritates me about her. It's not. Yeah. I can understand why she's got an issue with the drinking culture.
Yeah.
2 things that irritate me about her. First, the cheating. Second of all, she claims that she's been worried about her husband for years, that she's seen him basically falling into a low-grade depression for years, and she's done nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then also, when he starts drinking, she doesn't do anything to stop him until it's too late, and he's gone too far.
And
he doesn't so much as say a word to him.
I just said, whilst you've been talking, I've actually just to let people know, I've actually been looking up what local cinemas have this on near me this week, and I might be able to go and see it this week actually, because there is a cinema showing it.
Definitely
cool.
do go to see it.
We do have a
definitely
picture house in Southampton, so
it definitely deserved the Oscar it won.
Yeah, I will say it deserved a lot more than the Oscar it won. I will say as well, it's fantastic on the big screen. It's even better on the big screen. Do go see it. Just do yourself a favour when you go to see it, don't drink, because even if you're sober, you will leave the cinema feeling drunk. It's that kind of film.
Fair.
Which leads me on to my next point, the cinematography.
Yeah.
Did you notice?
And they,
When they're sober, the camera's sober.
here's the
When
problem,
they're
Noodle.
drunk, it's all flowing. And
Here's the problem, Noodle. This is, should we just say,
It's
the one cinema that's showing this in my city is the one with the good bar.
Right.
In that case, then you have to.
So I'm probably it's
yeah.
probably inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a contractual obligation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cinematography in this is really good. It's all handheld.
Yeah.
But you do notice when they're more drunk, the camera shakes more, or
Yeah.
it's smoother when they're smooth, or when they're sober, it's more steady but jittery.
There's a time and a place for shaky cam, and this was it.
Yeah.
It's not even shaky cam. It's they film it almost like they're filming dance scenes when the characters are drunk. So you see where the way the camera just sort of flows. I'm not technical on this. Someone please help me. You can tell I adored this film because all I've done is fangirl for the last hour, and I'm not done yet. But it is a really the camera work really draws you in, and it's really well done, and you can see Winterberg's influence on that of handheld cameras and the way it's been done. That's definitely, I think, this is not a Dogma film, but you can see the influences for sure. So
I feel like a lot of the kind of comments I've heard you make about issues with it have been very much like things that I recognize as characters might even actually do. It's just society's a bit fucked.
Can I ask a question, Sam? Have you seen this film yet or not?
No, I have read the synopsis.
Thankfully, I'm not alone now.
No, I did actually say in our Twitter group, just like, I haven't seen it. I don't want to crowd the room too much, and I'd just woken up when you started.
well, this is valid. But I do like there was one little shot when Martin gets up and has the vodka first thing in the morning. And he takes the vodka out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone who knows anything about alcohol, you know he's drinking a good vodka.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which amuses me. Because he goes straight for the hard spirits, and he goes straight for the vodka that won't have frozen overnight. But their worlds begin to sort of converge around alcohol. If you notice in this film, everything about Martin's lessons becomes about drinking.
Yeah.
The coach is drinking on the job. They're all, everything's. He asks his wife's just got out of bed, and it's, do you want a glass of wine or a coffee or both?
Yeah.
And it's a very good example of how alcohol can take over your life very quickly.
And
even when you're trying to be in control and be scientific about it.
And of course that's the reason they end up stopping it after the bender. Yeah,
because they've gone too far and they know it. I think the thing with this is though that there's that great scene in the gym, like cupboard or whatever it is. Where they're there and they're talking about the pianist who could only play when he was between drunk and sober, and you can hear them justifying doing this to themselves.
Yeah.
But then there's that great line of, an alcoholic can't stop himself, so we're not alcoholics, we're scientists. And that to me just reeks of, it's the classic addict's justification, isn't it?
Well, and there. So here's another great thing about how the soundtrack of the movie ties in with the storytelling is because it's incredibly symmetrical. You know, it opens up with a clip of the same song that it ends with, and as they're talking about the pianist, and goes into Martin's first day with 1% BAC. It plays that piano music kind of almost Tchaikovsky. Yeah. And then when they go on, when they go on the bender, it goes into the jazz music. And then it goes back to Tchaikovsky, and then it ends with "What a Life."
Actually, no, there's another track in there when they're in the pub, the Village People.
Yeah.
Now the subtitles for this film are really bad because the subtitles say that they're singing "Oh, what a jolly man" or something. But that song, if you know anything about music, that is the tune to "Go West" by the Village People. And that song is kind of ubiquitous in the UK. It's been on all the adverts. Anyone who's seen the advert for Sherwood's Rice, Go East. It's just a really popular song on adverts.
Or anyone and I hate to mention this, anyone who's gone to a football match, because that song's been used for God knows how many football chants.
Exactly, and it's a football chant, and it's a working man's pub they go to. That pub to me is very familiar. That's what I would call a working man's pub. I don't know if Sam can agree with me on this or not, and Scummer can. But that pub looks
we haven't seen the film, have we? So.
Maybe come back to me on that. But it's the closest you'd get to sort of a British pub that's not a football club. Like it's dark oak tables, drinks on tap.
As someone who's, as someone who's only visited the UK, it felt very. It did have that like working class pub feel.
I mean, we have that in Denmark. We Danish and English pop culture are really not that far from each other.
I think there's not much similar in America.
Having Googled film and then pub, all of the results here look like working man's pub. Just,
Yeah,
so
let me have a look, see what kind of images you're looking at, and I'll tell you if you're right. Yeah, so it's very much, it's a bar. It's, it's got a pool table around the back probably, or a football table. It's got pints on tap, and it's, all old oak work tables and three-legged stools, and it's that kind of
I can't remember the last time. I can't remember the last time I went into a pub where it was table football. It was,
three-legged stools kind of.
It's
a labour club,
yeah.
basically. It's a labour club. Yeah.
It
is very. It's got that feel to it of they're letting their hair down and they're kind of going back to the roots a little bit. And they do behave a bit like teenagers in that montage, don't they?
Yeah.
Running around in the park, and that's another thing that I think I get the impression it will be really foreign to American audiences is the intimacy between these four men. The completely platonic intimacy between them of there's no shyness about running around together, playing around. There's one bit where they fall on the ground and one of them's got his head in the other's stomach. And I think to an American audience, they're going to look at that and go, are these two fucking?
And it's like, that's another reason why an American remake just won't work, is because, like American masculine culture definitely has a toxic aloofness to it.
I mean, American remakes of, or should I say more? I should probably say just a Hollywood style remakes of a lot of foreign language films. By and large, haven't worked. I mean, there's been the odd exception, There's been the odd exception, but I think probably one of the most infamous failures in recent last decade or so was the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which
haven't seen the remake
of that.
I will say the one good thing that the sensible thing they actually did was keep the plot keep it set in Sweden, because the whole story of that is there's things, elements of that plot that specifically apply to the nation of Sweden,
that you can't get around.
You cannot get around.
I think, though, just to give an example, Skummock, no matter how drunk you were, could you imagine yourself at, say, 11:30 at night in a public park after having an arm wrestling competition, collapsing in a heap and giggling with your friends? As a British bloke, could you imagine yourself doing that?
I've been not far off of that drunk before, but it's probably you'd have to be
pretty far gone.
You'd have to be
weren't that far gone. Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's generally it's that it's British guys are absolutely pissed when they start hugging one another.
Yeah.
See that it feels very much like the sort of shit you'd expect to find over in kind of Sackville Gardens, so like the gay village in Manchester.
Yeah, there is almost, and I think Americans will read a homoerotic element into the relationship between these four guys, but there just isn't one to me looking at it.
There isn't one.
They are European. It's like it's the Great Muppet spoof. Are they gay or are they European?
They're European.
Yeah.
They are European, I promise.
I didn't even consider that, because there's nothing homoerotic about that.
But knowing Americans and knowing how Americans view it, I looked at it and I went, someone's going to ship this.
See, when I see it,
or they would just change that relationship between the characters to the point where it wouldn't actually work.
Yeah.
So,
I can't see 4 American guys having the relationship these guys have at all.
But Sam was going to say something.
I think the thing is that from the description and having done some Googling of clips while we're talking, it doesn't feel like the sort of thing that I would read into like a sexual or romantic relationship, but it does feel like something in the UK that would be very almost like queer culture-ish.
Yeah, it's got that queer culture element of a very openness with your friends and, hugging and
UK is so fucking repressed.
But we are so repressed, yeah. But I think there is this thing of, if you don't understand the European culture and the way the men behave in Europe, which we can learn a lot from in Britain and America, we really can, it's very... It's not weird to see Martin, for example, cry at a funeral.
Yeah.
It's not weird to see... which one of them was it? Get all emotional over a piano concerto. Because these are the kinds of men they are. They're very secure in their masculinity.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't translate into American culture, I don't think.
Yeah.
There would be side looks given.
It'd be I'd say in a lot of, shall we say, sort of Anglo-American or maybe even sort of Australian culture, whatever, that, like tearing up at a sad movie or something like that would be seen as very unmanly,
there'd be a lot of teapot jokes, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the comment that's passed. Even the drinks they drink, the Sazerac, is very, I don't want to say girly because it's so much alcohol in it. I nearly fell over just looking at it.
Yeah.
But,
it
looks
it's a bit
girly.
like it's a bit like there's a joke an Australian comedian called Steve Hughes used to tell about. He said that when he was at school, like he says all the rest of the boys went and played rugby, and he did home economics, and whilst they were playing rugby, and they'd say to him, "You fucking gay, Hughes? You fucking gay or something?" And he said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm in a classroom with 30 girls making cakes while you fuckwits are showering together. Of course, you gay."
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's that comment, isn't it?
I think that dynamic's shifted though, because what used to be home economics is now food technology, and when I did food tech, there was one girl in the class.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
But look how well time dependent stuff like that is. How it can shift and how quickly.
oh yeah, the idea of boys doing food tech when I was a teenager, like a decade ago, not a shot. No, I went to an all-girls school, but even the all-boys school,
Let alone-
didn't even do it.
Let alone
When I went to primary school, we had food tech or whatever you want to call it in the 6th and 7th grade, but in the 7th grade it was it was a voluntary subject. You could choose between a number of subjects. That would be one of them. And as far as I remember, it was kind of evenly spread between boys and girls if they'd go follow that one. So it's also very different. It seems geographically, depending on which country you come from, how you view that.
It was very much a smaller subject. Less people wanted to do it. But the other class had more girls in, but was still more than half boys.
I'd say it started to shift. Definitely started to shift when I was at school. That there were boys that were, doing what we called home ec at the time. Now you find a boy doing textiles, no fucking chance.
Yeah, exactly.
No fucking way.
That's like a girl doing woodwork, isn't it? Or metal.
Yeah.
Nah.
I had a couple of girls doing woodwork in my school.
I wanted to do it, and I was told I couldn't.
I don't think there was a girl in my year that took woodwork that I know of.
I wanted to do it, and they wouldn't let me.
There is one aspect of the film that would actually translate well, but it is really a minor one, and like a B, very much a B or even a C plot. Stefan's study pressure.
Yeah. Now, the whole plot with that kid's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because that kid is basically a microcosm of what they're going through. He's failed, he's having trouble, he can't cope, and they offer him a drink.
Yeah.
I don't envy that kid going to university and turning to a drink the next time he's got an exam.
Yeah.
I tried that at undergrad once and I bombed. Because I was so anxious before it. I literally had a shot before the thing and I bombed. I don't think that had anything to do with the alcohol. I just think I was so anxious I bombed. But it's very... That kid is a really good... I think the entire message, the philosophy of failure that is put into that kid's mouth for that exam is really interesting. Yeah. And I think Winterberg's films as well Winterberg's very good at giving you an education without you quite realizing that you're learning.
Yeah. And can you give an example? Yes, I have failed.
Yeah. And it's an interesting moment where the kid and the teacher are on the same page.
Yeah.
And they both understand the situation they're in. And it's a very... To me, that's a very cultural thing that I think every student wishes they had a teacher like that, who would help them like that. Not necessarily by offering them a drink, but who would help them like that. But the way the teachers treat the students is very different to UK and is very different to America from what I can tell. there is, even though these students are, I think we get the impression they're sort of 17, 18.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're, the equivalent of seniors.
They're seniors, yeah. They're treated like adults.
Yeah.
Throughout. Like, there's no question of course you're going out on a weekend and drinking. Of course you're doing this. Of course you're doing that. Of course you're doing the other. You're adults.
Yeah.
There's none of this teachers harrying them for homework or anything like that because you're adults. It's your decision.
Probably another element that's not going to transfer well as well. So
that is not going to translate to American culture because I will say this categorically, having seen it, Americans are babied well into their 20s.
Yeah.
And it's, there's a reason your country's the way it is, and that's a big part of it.
I mean, I have an American friend who, at 21 in uni, was living in halls of residence with a 20-year-old, so he wasn't allowed to drink.
Excuse me?
Yeah. In the military, they tried to, in the barracks, they'd pair people who were 21 or over, or else they wouldn't, or else the person who is over 21 wouldn't be allowed to have any alcohol in their room.
Yeah. Let's put it this way: when one of my best friends turned 18, and he's actually a couple months older than me, but his stepdad his dad actually took him in the pub and actually kind of dragged me along, buy him a pint on his 18th birthday, and then said, the barman asked him what's the big occasion. He says, "Oh, I'm bringing my son and this mate out for the 18th birthday party," and then they're like, "What do you mean 18th birthday?" He says, "Well, yes, what they're 18th birthday." Says, "You bastard, they've been regular drinkers in here for the last, we've been regulars in there for 2 years."
That's fantastic. That's classic British.
The fun thing about it is, now my best friend, he's a bit shorter than me and had a very boyish face compared to me.
Yeah.
But he was the one with the convincing fake ID. So he would always go to the bar first, con them with the fake ID. Then they'd look at me and think, well, okay, if that young looking guy is 18, I have to be.
Definitely is. Yeah.
He's 2 months older than me.
Yeah, no, my mum used to get ID'd when she went shopping for cigarettes, and I didn't. So that was always funny to me. I always told her to take it as a compliment. But it's like to give you an idea of the culture I'm coming from. My dad used to have a rule at house parties and things he did. Whenever a guest came in the house, we always gave them their first drink. Whatever drink you want, we will pour it for you. We will hand it to you as our guest. This is your drink. Enjoy. After your first drink, the fridge is there. Help yourself. But if you get drunk and fall over, it's your own fault.
That feels like a fairly general.
And Ring will confirm that is almost word for word what my dad said to them the first time they came to the UK. And that's the attitude of everyone take responsibility for themselves. I think that's it's not so much a British thing as a European thing, because my dad's Polish, but it's something that I don't think is going to translate across to America.
No.
I also think it does apply in the UK somewhat, because it might just be village life, but whenever I have ended up like having a house party or whatever, it's always been, here's your first drink, we've got a bunch of drinks on the side, go nuts.
Go nuts, yeah. I do have to say, if I carry on drinking this cider, I'm going to start saying "who are" in a bit.
Yeah. But in America, once again, the quote unquote drinking culture is completely teetotal until that magical, split second on your 21st, of when it turns midnight on your 21st, and then suddenly you're, able to handle as much alcohol as you can fit down your gullet.
And that's how you end up in hospital with, American culture confuses me, and I'm sure others who aren't American here agree. American drinking culture is weird to me. I don't understand it, and I will never understand it, and it's a good reason for us not to have children ring, because I will get into trouble with the federal government for giving our children alcohol at 8 and 9 years old. So probably a good idea we don't plan to have any.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hell, I was being shown how to make a snowball at, like, 10.
Yeah, it's about right. I was drinking Archers at, like, 8, 9 years old on New Year's Eve.
But, yeah.
Okay.
And... and also it's like...
Well, my real dad actually claimed, and I will say this, claimed that he used to put a teaspoon of brandy into my milk bottle as a baby, but my mum's always maintained that he never did that, and if she'd ever caught him, she would have beat the fuck out of him. So,
oh come on, they did that when they wanted a peaceful night and they wanted to just. They did that. They just don't want to admit it.
It might explain a lot.
Like mine, I freely admit they put Appleton on my dummy and in my bottles when I was a baby. So,
Also, like, even after, you're legally allowed to drink, it seems like the culture is basically teetotal until the occasions you drink and then go nuts.
Yeah, so, like, you'll notice every Sunday, like, Scummer and I, when we were doing Asterix, Hops does the regular thing. We can sit down and have 1 or 2 drinks and then stop. Like, I'll get to the end of the stream and I'll stop drinking. I won't. Today's a special occasion.
To be fair, I wasn't always as good at that. So
but what I'm saying is, just because we have 1 drink on a Sunday afternoon does not mean we're going to be drinking until Monday evening.
I will say,
whereas in America, there's kind of I get that impression.
To be fair, I was quite bad during lockdown for drinking.
It's kind of I've got a whiskey. Yes, it's in a pint glass. Here, I'll probably have maybe 1 or 2 more, and then I'll have like a cider, and that'll be it for the day.
But see, are you even old enough to drink in America, Sam?
Nope.
Which is kind of the point we're making.
When I visit,
I'll be honest. If I was a barman, and I didn't know Sam, I would be IDing them.
Yeah.
There's no 2 ways.
You look about 14.
Yeah.
I got ID'd for the first time the other day. Never been ID'd before then.
Yeah, take it.
Naturally, it was the one day I didn't bring my ID.
Like, I still carry my ID at 20 mumble years old. Because I will occasionally get ID'd in places if I've not been in a while or I'm not known now.
It's really funny. Sometimes I get you look about 13, 14. Sometimes I get you look about 30. And I can't tell.
I'd say you act a lot older than you are. In terms of looks, I'm not prepared to go that far, but that's not a bad thing.
Hang on, Ox, is that 23 a question for me?
I was going fucking... Jesus, I was going grey by like 25, 26, so...
If Ox claims I can't be over 25, ring, I want a divorce, I found a new partner.
Oh.
I'm teasing. But I'm well over 25, Ox, I promise.
Yeah. I wouldn't say well over.
I'm closer to 30 than 20, let's put it that way. I'm closer to 30 than 25. That got me through what
Hops and I are the old people in the room here.
Oh, yeah.
So basically what we're saying is, like, another, Druk, aka Another Round, wouldn't work as an American film because American drinking culture is just doesn't work.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just something I want to talk about with the title.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen has said in interviews that he prefers the English title Another Round.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
he said this because because Another Round has kind of insinuations of a friendly drink, one for the road, friends buying in rounds, and it's playful and it's fun, as opposed to binge drinking where you drink until you black out.
Yeah.
What's
I can see
everyone's
that.
thoughts on that? Like, which title do you prefer now, knowing what the meaning of Druk is?
Well, being an ignorant Yank, I prefer Another Round because I actually can pronounce and spell it.
Yeah, this is the number of times I've gone on Twitter to talk about it and typed drunk instead of druk.
Yeah.
And I know I'm mangling that pronunciation. Just, yeah.
So I can understand where Matt Mikkelsen is getting at. I definitely can, and I guess it actually. Yeah, well, the thing is, there's a darker side to this film than just a couple of guys going about drinking together and having a good time. There's also a very dark side to this, and I think that the word druk encapsulates that better. So I think I'll for that reason I'll stick with the Danish title.
Okay.
I
Cool.
feel like the Danish title probably. I think the thing is that the Danish title probably works better contextually.
Yeah.
But Another Round feels like it makes more sense coming from a British understanding of it, and so I think I quite like the difference in the naming there. I think it works quite well to have both.
And I think, I think for a while it was also called day drinking in the U.S.
Day drinking, I feel like, has more of the darkness of Druk than Another Round does.
Yeah.
Because Another Round is, I'm sure Scummer can back me up on this. Another Round is you sat in a pub and someone gets up to leave and go, no, stick around for another round, my shout.
Yeah, I've got time for one more round.
I've got time for another round. Let's, one for the road. It's that kind of attitude.
Yeah, that's next bus is in half an hour. One more round.
I've got time for another round.
Yeah, I've got time for one more round and a 6-pack to go.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot more fun to it, and there's a lot less obvious darkness in that idiom, especially in British English.
Yeah.
Than Druk. Because I think if you'd have named the film Binge Drinking, it wouldn't have done so well in the English speaking world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of the darkness, the arc, the narrative and character arcs of this movie, it is very much a valley.
Yeah. Speaking of the valley, I want to talk about the theme of death in this film because it permeates the film.
Yeah.
Right from the start, when Martin has his breakdown in the restaurant and he's talking about he can't leave his wife because she was there when his father was ill and she took care of his father.
Yeah. And how he saw himself growing old with her.
Yeah. And there's a piece that he's made with the idea that this is his life and this is who he is, and she's a big part of that. Then we've obviously got Tommy dying, and we've got this funeral montage scene that's very. I think it's very interesting that you don't hear anything that is said at that funeral. Yeah. All you see is them there, dressed in black, very somber.
The
box.
The only dialogue is them finding their seats.
Yeah.
It's let's sit there. We're the pallbearers.
We're the pallbearers, so we should be near them. And then the funeral scene is given to the child.
Yeah.
And just to put it out there, that kid is actually really good at football.
Yeah.
That kid is crazy good at football. Specs is actually a really good football player.
Yeah.
And so it apparently killed him that he had to play that he wasn't a good player. And it's apparently it's going to be on the DVD extras of him doing tricks and things. But yeah, he's a really good player, and the whole thing with death, but also the other song that permeates this film. You've got "What a Life,"
Yeah.
and then there's "In Denmark I Was Born," which I really can't see this film translating to the American national anthem being sung like that.
Yeah.
It just feels really. It's wrong on a visceral level.
Are we discussing this because there's been speculation of it, or because they've announced it?
Oh yeah, they're talking about casting Leonardo DiCaprio as Martin and remaking it.
Yeah, they've been talking about an American.
Stole the rights.
Yeah, they've been talking about an American remake since it hit the indie circuit.
Yeah, since it won the Oscar, they've been talking about it.
No, since before it won the Oscar.
Yeah, I know, but Vinterberg confirmed he'd sold the rights after it won the Oscar. He has sold the rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I want to talk about. I don't know anything about. Is that the Danish national anthem, Hops?
It's the Danish national anthem is the one the football kids are singing.
Yeah.
And the other one that the students are singing, that's a different tune. But both are very, so to say, nationalistic. And I mean, there is actually a possibility of being nationalistic in Denmark without being toxic about it.
Yeah, that's something Americans can't grasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, nor can the English.
Yeah, I mean that's something. I mean, and the problem is sometimes it becomes toxic anyway. But still, seeing these small kids singing the national anthem, because that's just something you do in Denmark, was actually surprisingly not cringy to me. Now that you mention it, I haven't even considered that, because that's very much an integrated part of Danish culture. We just do it and don't make much of a. Well, we do make, and we can do that without making much of an additional fuss about it.
I do feel like it's the equivalent of the British singing Jerusalem or Land of Hope and Glory. It's not the national anthem. It's almost religious significance, but it is secular and it is nationalistic.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's.
Yeah, it could be that.
I expect them to sing Jerusalem tonight if they win, but it's not going to be because it's going to be a big thing. But it's going to be because that's the song everyone learned in school.
Yeah.
I don't even know the song Jerusalem, so it's difficult for me to say. But I know.
In ancient times, did walk upon England's mountains green.
That sounds so weird to me in an American accent.
I do know Land of Hope and Glory, though.
Yeah, it's like last night at the proms is basically just England jingoism .2. Because we have Land of Hope and Glory, Jerusalem, and then the national anthem.
But Land of Hope and Glory is actually a good tune. I like the tune, I have to admit.
I don't understand how we have Jerusalem and Land of Hope and Glory, but God Save the Queen is our anthem. Like,
yeah, you're right about that.
I did not know that Jerusalem wasn't our
Lords.
Yeah, no, but Britannia as well. Like, I did not know until I was about 14 that Jerusalem wasn't our national anthem.
See, I remember always, whenever we had some sort of holiday that was supposed to be nationalistic or whatever, it was always Rule Britannia.
You are giving England football fans way too much credit if you think they're going to sing Land of Hope and Glory or Jerusalem. I will tell you what they will be singing tonight.
2 World Wars and 2 World Cups.
England.
Maybe they'll dig out
put-
the old Vindaloo records.
Oh, that was quite funny though. That record. That was quite funny, and they will be singing Three Lions, obviously. 'Cause...
Yeah, they'll be singing Three Lions, but it's they're national. What I'm getting at is they're nationalistic songs that don't have a religious significance, even though they sound vaguely religious.
Even though Jerusalem is kind of a hymn.
It is a hymn.
Yeah.
I do love this juxtaposition as well of the funeral with the graduation party.
Yeah.
Because it's quite obvious that time passes from the day they all graduate and they're in the courtyard to the kids coming past when they're in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And the beautiful moment before that when they're all sat in, let's be honest, not a very nice cafe.
Yeah.
And they're drinking beer and coffee and they're silent and it's, well, what would Tommy do now? And what do? They go to a posh restaurant and order the best champagne.
Yeah.
Which is just, and he goes back to talk to the chef in the background and he's like, we're here because, can we have that table? Because that's where we were at. It's even the same table they sit at. And if you look, the way they're sat is actually mirrored around Martin. So if you look at where they were sat at the beginning, they're sat in opposite seats at the end.
Okay.
Except for Martin, who stays where he is. So it's very...
Once again,
it's a very cyclical story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very cyclical. It's a very symmetrical story where it starts slightly low, goes up to a peak, dips down into a valley, and then comes up. It kind of ends at the peak.
Yeah. And there is this idea of death being a reminder to live with the text with Anika, which are really nice.
Yeah,
I just saying, Tommy's rooting for us. I miss you. All this going on.
I just had a little laugh because of I was just looking at the budget and box office for this film, and I was like, what, 33 million for this film and 7.9 million return. That's because they put the budget in Danish kroner and the box office in US dollars, so it actually has made a profit. That's why.
To be fair, most of that budget will have been on videos of Russians drinking and on the alcohol.
Yeah.
All the interviews they've given. I've watched quite a lot of interviews of this show. Obviously, I'm a fanable, and the fanables have really got behind this because it's a Mikkelsen film and a Mikkelsen project. And one of the things in the interviews they said was they actually had an alcohol boot camp for this film, where they basically spent a fortnight every day drinking to the level the characters drink to, and filming themselves so they could then study themselves and act like they were drunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it is very hard to act drunk convincingly, and they pulled that off really well. They did that. And Mikkelsen was talking about how you don't know what to do with your hands. Like, hands go everywhere when you're drunk. And they were talking about watching videos of Russians getting blind drunk on YouTube and finding that quite amusing as part of the studying for this.
You're saying that as your hands are doing this, by the way.
Yeah, but I talk like I'm Italian. That's why I'm supporting you tonight.
Well, and apparently... the band that wrote, What a Life, like the lead singer actually knew Mads or was a friend of Mads Mikkelsen's daughter.
Possibly, but also that song was recommended by Vinterberg's wife.
Yeah.
Who, believe it or not, is a vicar.
Yeah.
Which just amuses me. But she recommended it. And there's more we need to talk about Vinterberg's family in this. Yeah. But they are very... I feel like Danish cinema, especially when you get sort of... It's quite close-knit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems to be quite a close-knit community of certain actors, certain directors, and they've all come up together.
Yeah.
You know, you don't sort of see that outside of sort of, you know, Johnny Depp and his director and what's the director's name who always cast Johnny Depp?
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim
Tim
Burton.
Burton, Johnny
That
Depp,
was-
and
that was
outside of
always
that, you
the,
don't see that kind of.
That was always the running joke when he and Helena Bonham Carter got divorced as who got custody of Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Yeah. But that relationship those three have professionally is probably the closest American / British cinema gets to kind of the culture of Danish cinema.
Well, I don't know, because the Coen brothers have a couple actors they really like working with.
Yeah. And they do that. But I think I'd be quite surprised if the Coen brothers ever came out and said, no, we wrote this part for this actor.
Yeah.
Whereas Vinterberg is very clear.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, you've
Mads'
had
part, that's for Mads.
I mean, we had those things in the like, was it in the late '60s, early '70s? The group of actors in Britain that they called the Angry Young Men, which is all who seem to be in a lot of films together. It was like Richard Harris, Peter O'Toole, Oliver Reed. Those, you know, who were in a lot of films together early on.
I'm pretty sure that
just like very much drinking buddies as well.
Yeah.
I am going to
I'm
ask
pretty sure that
is the post-graduation, I assume that was some kind of they were going by on a float, and it seems to have been about a week after they actually got their results. Is that a normal thing in Danish culture, where it's like a post-graduation street party almost?
No, that would be that's right after the graduation. The day they graduate, they go out in lorries, basically, where the students where each class is on the carrier of a lorry, and they go about and visit every family in the class, and they'll have a drink and a little party every place, so that they get to meet every family.
That's nice, is that? I like that. That's
Yeah.
I like the
I do like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to me, I got the impression that the day they got their results in the classrooms was not the same day as they had that event at the end. Like there was a
well, all the exams. The thing is, you have the exams first, and I mean they are not all the same day, of course. You will have them with days, sometimes weeks in between, and then I mean, when you have your last exam, you get your hat. This student's cap, or whatever you want to call it. I've got mine somewhere in here as well. And then then some days later, when everyone in the high school has been through all their exams, that's when you will actually have a small party or a small something where everyone then gets their diploma. And that will be the day after that happens. That's when you go out on the cars, on the lorries.
See, that explains, because to me, I was looking at it and I was like, how did they manage to organise a funeral within like 2 days?
Yeah.
It seemed really quick, because unfortunately, due to life circumstances, I know how long it takes to arrange a funeral. And funerals don't happen within, you know, unless you're Muslim or there's a religious reason, funerals don't happen within 48 hours.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I think what I found really weird about the way this film did the funeral as well, there was no mention of a burial or cremation. Like, quite clearly he's been buried because it's in a church and they carry the box out into the hearse.
It's actually pointing more in the direction of cremation, since he's put in the back of a car that drives away with him.
Really?
Yeah, because if it was an actual funeral, they'd go out to the grave right after church and have him buried.
Well, see, that's what I assumed happened. I assumed there would be family cars that the family would then get into and follow the hearse to the cemetery. But then that didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't be absolutely. And this is going on in Copenhagen, so they could actually be going to a funeral site now that you say so, because in the middle of Copenhagen they don't necessarily are situated right next to the church, of course. But they will be in most other, at least small towns in Denmark.
But for the purposes of the movie, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter for the purpose of the movie.
And
I just
that's
looked into the narrative.
Yeah, and that's another, and that's another great thing about this movie is it's a very lean movie. Everything is essential.
Yeah, there's nothing unnecessary in there.
Yeah.
What's the bets that it was twice as long before they had to start cutting shit out?
Yeah. I've seen the interview, so I know that for a fact, but okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I have not.
Yeah.
And then I think we've come to the final scene, haven't we? This
Yeah.
beautiful, amazing, hopeful, even the way it's filmed and the colour in the scene is different.
Where
it's brighter, it's lighter,
where Martin finally cuts loose
and dances.
Right. Yeah.
And what bad back? I literally wrote in my notes, "What bad back, Martin?"
Yeah.
Because he's sat there, and it's almost, you could see the film if it didn't want to give a hopeful message, ending with him just staring out to sea with that can in his hand.
Yeah.
But no, he has that moment of okay, and then it's almost like something in him snaps, and he decides basically, fuck it.
Fuck it, I'm gonna live.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go. And this whole thing of another round is another one, another try, another go. He's another go at dancing. He's back on top as a teacher again. He's enjoying himself as a teacher again. It's almost like this is his new start.
And
you're not done yet.
And basically that, like, the dance that he does, like, basically is him cutting loose and expressing the journey he's experienced as a character throughout this movie.
Yeah, and it is very well choreographed. But what I love about it is, you've got to know Mads Mikkelsen started out as a dancer. So Vinterberger's been trying for at least a decade to get Mikkelsen in a film dancing. He started out as a gymnast and a dancer before he was an actor, which, look at the good dude. He's definitely built like a dancer. But I love how this dance is choreographed in a way that it doesn't look choreographed. It looks like you could just belt that out.
Yeah.
And he's just remembering the old moves. But what I love is mate behind him joins in.
Yeah.
The same mate who was teasing him about taking dance lessons at the start. Now, this is what I mean about the intimacy between the men in this film and this European approach to masculinity. How many Americans or Brits can honestly say they've got a friend who is that good of a friend, who has probably attended multiple dance recitals of theirs, enough to know the dance moves of the type they were dancing to? It just doesn't. It's not.
There's very few people.
There's very few people who can say that, and that it's a beautiful way of showing that friendship and the depth of that friendship really well, without having to say a word about it.
And the jazz ballet is built up and foreshadowed for the entire movie, and you don't ever see Martin actually dance until that moment at the end, which is when he's got the hope that he's going to get back together with his wife, that his life's going to pick up, that his students are going to remember him, that he's got hope, and then he does the kicker. Which I think is a great call to his mate jumping in the water when they were fishing for cod. And them all laughing and joking.
but also the fact that Tommy died out on the water.
Yeah.
He jumps. And it's...
And
I could write an entire philosophical essay on the fact that the film cuts before he lands.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the fact that, he doesn't, like, throughout all this, this drinking experiment, he doesn't cut loose enough to dance, even though his friends are dancing when they have the cocktails.
Yeah, even though he's falling over with a cigarette in his mouth and you're worried he's going to set fire to the place, he's still not dancing.
Yeah, but when he finally has hope, that's when he dances.
Yeah. Go on, Hops.
No. Well, okay. Now that you asked me to say anything, anyway, there was the quote of Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher. It's also mentioned that what is daring is losing yourself for a short moment. Not daring is losing yourself.
Forever.
Yeah.
Now that you were talking about philosophy and all that, and very much the thing that he does at the very end, and what they did, it was losing themselves. No, it wasn't losing themselves, but it was losing foothold for a short time.
Cutting loose, yeah.
Instead of losing themselves.
Because you do feel like Martin had lost himself at the start of the film. He's stuck in a dead job.
All of them had
Marriage
lost
is on the
themselves.
rocks. Yeah.
All of them had lost themselves at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I do have to say, I focus on Martin because the film focuses on Martin.
Yeah.
Like, quite clearly, the camera loves Mads Mikkelsen.
I think that something else as well is we kind of brought up a few times the cyclical or the parallel kind of nature of the film. And I think if you kind of read it like that, but at the end, there's a hopeful sense to it. It's a bit of even if it is a cyclical thing and the cycle starts again, you can start from a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can grow.
And they start from a place of hope rather from the place of having been ground down.
Yeah.
And being stuck where they are. And they're not boring anymore, and they're not, they're not going out to dinner and listening to some waiter whinge on about caviar for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I think
they're fun
this
and they're
would be-
happy and they're joyful, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah. It would be reading into it too much to say that actually kind of plays on the name, I think, but it does also work well with the name.
Yeah.
It does, because it's almost like, okay, we're miserable, but stick around for another round and we might perk up and have a laugh. And you do sometimes find that, like, people, I know in sort of the drinking culture I grew up in, I never leave a pub on bad terms with anyone. Doesn't matter how bad the fight got, no matter what happened, we will always sit down and have one more round, a drink and a chat and make peace and raise a glass together. Because if we don't, peace isn't made. Like, when you're drunk, all it takes is, a tipped glass and all's well with the world.
And
And it's a sign of not holding a grudge if you're willing to sit down and drink with someone.
The song used at the end, "What a Life," was actually the band actually recorded a sped up version for that scene.
Have you listened to the words of that song? It's actually about popping pills.
Yeah.
It's actually about popping pills in a nightclub.
Which song? Sorry, I was distracted.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because obviously it was for an article about Druk's impact after winning the Oscar.
Yeah, I do love. One day I will get this as a tattoo of "fuck what they are saying, what a life." I love that line in that song, and that is a song that in a nightclub, everyone is going to yell out. That's going to be up there with Mr. Brightside as one of those songs that just everyone joins in with. And and it goes with the film as well. It's very, it's one of that you want to cut loose to this song.
Yeah.
I defy anyone to listen to this song and not want to get up and join in and, get pumped by it.
Yeah. But
it's a very, the whole film's very, I think, I love the fact that this film was released in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
This was the film we needed in the middle of the pandemic. To remind us, A, that life goes on, but B, that there is joy in life as well.
But, yeah, like, the lead singer said one of the inspirations for the song was, like, the first time they got blitzed off vodka at 15.
This is valid. Oh wow! Okay, that's why I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that I think that this is. I obviously haven't seen the film, but from what I've heard about it, it feels like there's also some level of absurdism in it, in that, like, you can learn to exist better in your situation.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the alcohol's a placebo for these characters. Because if you think about it, teachers don't just randomly change their curriculum mid-curriculum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to have to watch the stream back later to make sure I'm not talking utter bullshit, because
no, like,
these glasses are 4 units a half pint.
I could
fourth, third.
I could very much see it being somewhat described as a Magic Slippers story, except there's no point where they, except that the alcohol was real all along.
Yeah, except that there is a place like home. It's
yeah.
This is what I meant by right at the start. I said this is a film about rites of passage.
Yeah.
But it's the middle-age rites of passage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this film does something very clever in that it focuses on 2 different generations at the same time.
Yeah.
Insofar as it focuses on the middle-aged teachers, but it also focuses on the students.
Yeah.
And so because it does that, it appeals to both of those demographics.
Mm-hmm.
And it also appeals to any demographic in the middle, because we remember being those students and we're looking forward to being that age. And equally, anyone older than that remembers being both of those ages.
Yeah.
Right.
So in that sense, it's very...
universal.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people, like the Hannibal fandom is a lot of people of different ages. Like, I'm considered quite young in the Hannibal fandom. We've got people in the 40s, the 50s still active in the fandom. Yeah. And they took as much from this film as I took, as our sort of 19-year-olds who've only been in the fandom a year and are still figuring out what the emojis mean.
Yeah, I know someone who's kind of starting to get into the Hannibal fandom and is like 16. Which is not necessarily in like as much fandom spaces, because that's NSFW.
Yeah, that's gonna there's NSFW issues there. So you're gonna find a lot of people aren't gonna interact with them until they're 18. But that's because we're sticking to the law. Not necessarily because we don't want to, but we have to do what we have to do. And it does have that universal appeal, but I am really struggling. I feel like Americans look on it as an ideal.
Yeah.
It's a very much an ideal situation for Americans and for Brits as well. I think if our drinking culture was like that, our country would be in a much better situation.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
We were commenting before this stream, Scummer and I, about, in the UK, what's the best case scenario tonight? We can have either angry riots or happy riots. That's what we're
Yeah.
expecting tonight in the UK.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when we won at the semi-finals, I was sat in a park drinking a cider with a mate, and we heard cheers from 6 different surrounding pubs simultaneously. And less than 5 minutes later, every single pub had a group of people running out, waving England flags, shouting very drunkenly. Every single
And-
pub.
Fireworks going off, car horns. But it wasn't wholesome in the way this film is wholesome. This film's like the worst thing they do is handcuff a real security guard to the hand holder on a train.
Oh,
that's
that's
the worst
nothing.
thing they do to anyone. That's nothing. Like if he wakes up tomorrow morning on traction with 2 black eyes, that's British culture.
Yeah.
I think to us it's an ideal to strive for this film as well. It's a really idealistic vision of what a good, healthy drinking culture could be.
So honestly, I like America's got too many Puritan scars to even try to strive for that.
Don't worry, I'll sort it. I'm on my way over there. I'll sort it.
The drinking culture of the United States is going to change drastically upon Noodle's arrival.
The alcohol consumption in the United States is definitely going to change drastically. So I'm going to be importing most of my drinks. Because have you tried American beer?
I have not, and I don't think I will.
Hold on. Now, Hops and I may have a disagreement with you on this, because there is some good American beer.
There is some
Very good American beers.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know what you're thinking along the lines of Budweiser.
Yeah.
Budweiser, who sell this product that they, for some reason, insist on calling beer. I understand,
like-
but
I got a proper insult first time I was working. Through the evening, I got a single tip. It was 2 cans of Bud Light.
Ew.
Ooh,
but-
painful. Can I swap them for a can of Carling?
Actually, ironically enough, where I live, there are actually at least a couple somewhat prominent microbrews.
See, what's going to happen, Hops, when I eventually get my green card and I go over there, I'm going to be messaging you on Twitter and saying, Hops, I need a list of decent beers from America, please.
Okay. Yeah, well, I may not be that much of an expert, but I do know some good breweries. I am not sure I know anyone in Montana, though.
Well, we're not going to be in Montana.
we won't be. Yeah, we won't be in Montana. Montana is too even the liberal island of Montana that I live in is too conservative.
It's
Right,
me.
okay.
Look, it's me.
Mhm.
I am not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to live anywhere where the trees outnumber the people.
So not going to Finland neither.
No, too cold.
Not at the
I can't
moment.
drive
Are
well
you
enough for
insane?
Finland. I cannot. I don't think even Rink can drive well enough for Finland.
Right.
The Finnish drivers have a reputation for being some of the best drivers in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in Formula One at least.
Right. Yeah. Well, I befriended a couple of Finnish people when I was in Ireland, living in Ireland, and this woman, she was also studying to become a doctor. She could tell some funny stories about the time when Ireland, for the first time in 7 years, in many years, for a decade at least, experienced snow. And how it was as a Finn to drive under those conditions. I mean, she knew everything about driving in snow, of course, and she had prepared with the proper tires and all that. And all she could do was just look at all the Irish people twirling around her in their cars because they hadn't prepared, of course.
No,
Was-
but,
Yeah.
yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, this does depend on what part of the UK you go to, but certainly.
Brits are generally good drivers. Irish, however, are insane.
But my part of Britain, if we get snow, we are like screwed
Shut
for
down.
days because
Shut
we
down.
Oh yeah.
because we
No,
very
if
rarely
there's-
get it. That even if we get like a light dusting of snow, we are fucked for days because we just never prepared for it.
If there's like an inch of
we go to other
snow,
parts of the
buses
UK.
don't come where I am.
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing was, last year in December, or maybe the year before in December, it was sunny out. There was no rain, and they were gritting the roads. But then when it came to February and there were 2 inches of snow on the ground, they had no grit left.
No.
Because they just don't pay attention.
You know, meanwhile, I never actually had a snow day.
Yes, but you're Montanan. You're practically Canadian.
Yeah, like, the only thing dangerous about the roads in the winter are the Californians on the roads in the winter.
Right.
That sounds like Northerners saying, "Oh, Southerners have got to put the jackets on." Well, they're in short, yeah.
But so anything else we want to cover about another round?
As I said, I haven't seen this, so there's really not much more I can add.
No.
I have to admit, I'm getting a bit hungry.
All I can say though is I am planning on watching this now.
Definitely.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's well worth it.
You should. It's a good film.
One last thing I want to end on. I want to talk about the dedication for this film.
Yeah.
This was dedicated to Vinterberg's daughter, who unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks before filming started. She was in a road traffic incident. She was very much behind the film, and he dedicated the film to her. They all decided they were going to dedicate the film to her. That's what the for-rider is for at the end, so I think it's very important that we acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful film, and it's a great legacy for her. And there's a lot of joy to be found in this film, but a lot of darkness as well, as we've all discussed. And it's just, that's just something I wanted to make sure we acknowledged, because it is important.
Yeah.
Vinterberg's talked about it in a lot of interviews, and if I ever get hold of the BBC anchor who threw that question at him without warning on BBC Morning News, they just randomly, quite clearly out of the blue, he wasn't prepared for the question, and they asked him about his daughter on BBC News.
So
Morning
basically,
News.
you'd make John Wick look like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, because that was entirely tactless and inappropriate. And as someone from the UK who saw that interview,
I would have gone.
Our apologies to Vinterberg. We're not all like that. We promise.
I would have gone more like make John Wick look like Ted Theodore Logan.
Yeah,
personally,
I feel honestly like, what else did we expect? It's the BBC, but at the same time, can we slap them?
It was so cringeworthy to watch. It was horrendous. You know, 200 years of the reputation of British diplomacy went down the toilet with that interview. It was that bad. So our apologies to Vinterberg for that. We're not all like the BBC, we promise.
Yeah.
To be fair, at least 800 years of British diplomacy went backwards when Boris was Foreign Secretary. So,
to be fair, this made Boris look good.
It must have been bad then. Wow.
Bad.
Yeah.
That must have been bad. Yeah.
Oh,
You literally. She asked the question, and you could see the colour draining from Vinterberg's face as she said it, because he wasn't prepared for the question. Luckily, he's done other interviews where he could just, because he'd done the interviews so often, he had an answer.
So basically, the BBC brought us one step away from another Viking invasion.
At this point, though, I think I prefer a Viking invasion compared to what we've got. So, like, you know.
Yes, please. I'll take that.
I'll take that. Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, please do.
Please help. Please help.
Can make a few phone calls.
Yeah, I think this film, I think, is going to be the one Vinterberg is remembered for.
Yeah.
I don't know about in Denmark, because obviously I'm not in Denmark. I don't live in Danish culture. But definitely internationally, this is going to be the film Vinterberg is remembered for.
In Denmark, he'll be remembered for this one as well. But I mean, he made other very good. Very significant films. So.
So basically, what we're saying is this is going to be remembered as his masterpiece.
I hope so, because for me personally, is having seen quite a few Vinterberg films, but The Hunt won, it swept the board at Cannes, but this film I think has that broader appeal, and doesn't have. Yes, it has darkness, but it does not have darkness anywhere near on the level of The Hunt. You don't need any. I'm not going to be saying to anyone, you should watch this film, but trigger warning.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great film, appeals to all ages. Anyone who's ever seen anyone with a drink in their hand can find something in this film to identify with. Or anyone who's ever had a drink or thought about having a drink can identify with it. And my sincerest hope is that the Americans leave it the fuck alone!
I'll just have a look though. This film has been nominated for a huge amount of awards, not just the Oscars, and it's won quite a few.
Oscars,
BAFTAs. It did win a BAFTA, I believe. Caesar Awards. This film's done very well.
This film went up against The Father for the Oscar. Now, for the BAFTA for the film screenplay, and it lost against The Father. Now, The Father is a very dark film, and it absolutely deserved the win. But for me, it is literally on the toss of a coin which of those films you would have voted for.
It got a BAFTA, for basically what they call for a foreign language film. It did get a BAFTA for that. So.
But yeah, I didn't realize the wife was Swedish, which explains a lot about her, I will say.
Yeah.
And I will say as well, this screenplay was 10 years in the making.
Oh yeah, and another little detail about the wife. She was subbed specifically in the Danish version that I watched on YouTube. No one else was subbed because some Danes have issues understanding Swedish. Once the subtitles were extremely redundant, and that was when she was laughing. When she was laughing, there was a subtitle saying "Annika laughing."
Well, I'll say, I will say, like I said, I did have a look for all the awards it was nominated for and won. Let's just put it this way: there was one very group of awards it was not nominated for, and that was the Razzies. So it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, you know when it's the Razzies aren't even looking at this film.
Nope.
But this is, the list of awards and nominations it's had on IMDb is just mad. Yeah. 41 wins and 56 nominations.
Well,
that's a hell of a percentage to win 41 out of 56 nominations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wait, no, that's not even
and
what
for
that means, is it?
For
this is 140 have been nominated.
And for a non-English language film as well is very good going.
Right.
I think also Mikkelsen was nominated for Best Leading Actor for this film. He lost out to Anthony Hopkins in The Father, and I will say that was on the head of a pin.
Yeah.
Having seen both films, I understand why Hopkins got it, because it was a much deeper film and it was a much more hard-hitting film. But
you're saying that Hannibal Lecter lost to Hannibal Lecter?
Yes, Hannibal Lecter lost to Hannibal Lecter. That's right, yes.
So,
they're going to sit down and discuss it over a nice Chianti later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, any final thoughts?
What a life. Cheers.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. So I'll just say cheers.
I'll just say what I say at the end of all my videos, and it seems kind of apt in this this particular case, always remember to drink responsibly.
Yep.
Skull.
Stick to 1% BAC.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
0.5. 0.05.
Yeah, no, but Martin's sweet spot was 1%, so we'll go with this.
All right.
Yeah.
Mainly talk about it.
I'm very conscious about not allowing too much blood into my alcohol stream, sir.
Right.
It's valid. Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, no, that's just this film. I think this is a film about life and about living.
Yeah.
And always remember to live.
Yeah, it's a film about life as viewed through the lens of alcohol.
I don't even think alcohol's the lens, but okay, I'll go with that. But
yeah, like, what? Alcohol has just about as much screen time as Mads Mikkelsen.
Valid. Yeah. But yeah, cheers, have fun, drink responsibly, enjoy life while you're living it, even in lockdown or anything else.
Yeah.
This film's a great reminder that you've got to keep living life no matter what. And that there's always hope to be found, even if it's at the bottom of a glass, although not necessarily. Because I think the beauty of this film is that the hope they found is not at the bottom of a bottle. It's in their friendships and in their relationships with each other.
Well, okay, I'll always say this. An optimist looks at the glass as half full. A pessimist looks at it as half empty. The supreme optimist looks at it as halfway towards the next beer.
And a realist looks at it and says, "Who the fuck took the head off my drink?"
So let's move to shilling. Noodle.
Nothing to shill at the moment. I'm on Twitter. I'm writing fan fiction again. I'm slightly pissed. I've just literally felt it hit me in the last 5 minutes. You can probably tell the moment that happened. I will eventually get back to it. I'm trying to set up so I can do my gaming streams on Twitch so you can actually hear the audio. But my ability with technology, toddlers know better than I do, so it's taking time. I'll figure it out. When I do, I will tweet about it. You will see it. I'm on Twitter at DangerHissy. Follow me there for updates.
Hops?
Yeah, I'm Hopswatch. I do the occasional beer review, some political stuff, sciencey stuff like that. At the moment, or at least for the past couple of weeks, I've kind of been on hiatus, on holiday, if you like. And but tomorrow I start working. I start working again, and usually that's when I have much less time on my hands. I get inspired to actually do something again. So let's see if that happens. But it happens when it happens. At the moment, I'm not happening much. Not much is happening.
And Scummer?
Okay, well, in just over 2 hours on my channel, I will be doing at least the last of these for some time. There's a certain sports event going on a little bit later. I'm going to be.
I've not heard about that one.
I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a watch along stream. People are welcome to join me if they wish. We did one of these the other night on Hops's channel because. It was English land versus Bland Netherlands as we build it.
Right.
Yeah.
I was rooting for Denmark.
I was rooting for Denmark because it had shut people the fuck up.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, England have to wait another few more hours. English football fans have to wait a few more hours for the inevitable crushing defeat that's going to come. But hey ho,
I mean, it's the Italians. You never know; they might show up one drunk.
No, not their football team. No, but yeah, I'll be doing that, and then I'll be at some point I'll be going back to more regular content. And I will just say, I make a little cameo appearance on the last video put out by the sarcastic barman. So I made a little cameo. I made a little attempt to take over his channel. So go check out that video.
Though I will say, knowing Italian history, who knows, they might end up switching sides halfway through the game.
They do that anyway, to be fair. It's football, they switch ends.
Ouch. Yeah.
So, Sam, any final thoughts in Shilling?
In terms of final thoughts, definitely one on my to-watch list. Possibly to drag a partner to see. And in terms of Shilling, shit keeps coming up in my personal life that we keep not releasing episodes of Pub Religion. This Wednesday coming, there will be an episode out. I'm going to arrange it beforehand this time, so when shit hits the fan, because it will, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is valid. Just one last thing I want to add while we were talking about the football. Best wishes to Christian Eriksen as well.
Yes.
And to the Danish team. Good
Yes.
recovery, mate, and to the team, great sportsmanship. And to the Finnish as well,
Right.
we were playing against them in that team. Just all the best. It's not easy.
Yeah,
for the
that
family
was.
or for anyone else.
That was.
But we're all rooting for him,
yeah.
regardless of who you support or what your
That
opinion
was-
on football is.
That was one of the. God, I'm not trying not to go too much into because I could go on for a rant about the way that was handled by certain media companies on the day, but I will say one thing about that match. The way the Finnish and Danish fans pulled together was quite inspiring. And that's a side of football I'd like to see a little bit more of,
Yeah, I think the whole world was holding its breath waiting for news on that. Even if we weren't necessarily, like, we heard and we were. So, yeah, best wishes to him, best wishes to his family, to the team as well. We know they've been knocked out now, but it was a damn good try. In
regards to my Shilling, if I ever get the spoons to do it, I'll be filming a pseudo response to the Godless Granny Pale Blue Mama collaboration about Jesus ascending. That being said, next Saturday we will not be doing secular D&D. Instead, we're going to be trying to finish off the Halloween one-shot.
Oh, I better be available for next Saturday then, hadn't I?
Yeah. Due to being supportive of Julie's situation.
Yeah.
And next time on Media Musings, for the next couple of weeks, we will be asking, why is the rum gone?
The rum's gone? Why is the rum gone?
Yeah. Why is the rum always gone?
I drank it.
Well, don't leave Captain Morgan out too long. It'll disappear around certain people.
Definitely disappears around me.
That's Bionic Dance brand, isn't it?
But
she's got no taste. Like Kate, she's got no taste in rum. If that's what she drinks, I'm sorry.
And
Think
but
she
yes,
The spice isn't too bad. You can't taste the alcohol in it, so it's fine.
I'm a dark rum guy.
Since Jungle Cruise is hitting theaters at the end of this month, we're going to finish off this month discussing the franchise that started all these Disney ride movies, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Arr.
I've got to drag my best mate round at some point then, because we're literally planning in the next couple of weeks to just binge all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again.
Unfortunately, since apparently On Stranger Tides has been locked in the Disney vault, we will only be talking about the first three movies.
This is valid.
Strange is what that's the fourth one.
Yeah, the fourth
That's one of the fucking better ones as well.
Yeah, the fourth
Did
one
get locked
is.
in?
Yeah, the fourth one
Oh.
isn't available for streaming. I checked on Disney Plus.
Oh Jesus,
Irritating.
that's ridiculous. That is one of the better of the Pirates of the
Yeah,
Caribbean.
the only
films,
four
though.
ones. The only four ones available are the original trilogy and then the latest one.
The Salazar, which is the worst one.
I haven't even seen the latest one. I don't think. The
I've
last one
only
I
seen
saw
the
was the
three
one with the
first one.
creature, was the creature and the mermaid.
Yeah, Stranger
I've only
Tides.
seen-
Yeah, Stranger Tides is the one with the preacher and the mermaid.
Is black
That's
the
the last one I
Blackbeard? It's
saw.
the black. That's the Blackbeard one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first three, so
Yeah,
So,
but yeah, I'm
Right.
thinking next week will be Curse of the Black Pearl, and then the week after will be 2 and 3.
Oh, does that
and,
mean I have to wear a corset?
But
Oh!
just
I could probably find a corset.
remember though that the pirate code is more like guidelines than
Is it
actual rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And much like the structure of these streams. So let's go ahead and move on to taglines. Noodle?
Cool. Well, as always from me, take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be careful.
Hops?
as I already said, always remember to drink responsibly.
Scummer?
Just to be an asshole. It's coming home. It's coming home.
And,
Just to annoy Noodle.
Sam?
Have a day, and remember, communication is key.
And one last time, if you want to watch me drink on stream, get me to 200 before sewing hits 100. And finally, the purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think on. Too often, we forget that.
Cheers.